Dear hi to everybody, and welcome, my fellow uncouth Americans. I am Shannon Nestor, the Shining Star. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, you lazy bastards. Thank you. Salem Part 2 of 2. I did the first one back in October, but then we had the holidays, and then I decided to save this particular segment for Black History Month. That being said, I wanted to dig more into the 3 enslaved women of the trials, the Salem witch trials, that is. Keep in mind that the settlers and pilgrims did hide and destroy lots of records that dared tell the truth about how they really treated the natives and slaves. Anywho, it is amazing how we can have complete biographies of a single person's back in BCE, and yet we can't seem to find early America, that's just a few hundred years ago, of an entire people's, all the slaves, Black, Irish, Mexican, Indian, of Hispanic, Latin American, all over the islands. Where did all those records go? Now that's something the president should sign off on divulging. Just saying. I digress. Moving on. We shall begin with Tituba. Tituba was a Taino Native American woman. Although her birthplace is speculation, she's found to be born somewhere about 1662 to 66. After Columbus's many ships, many a more came after him from also Portugal, Spain, England, and France. Tituba was brought from New Spain, or as historians narrowed that down to Barbados. Her name was made from the clan Titipatana. They spoke Arawak. They were also known as Locono, meaning sons of Loco. 90s historians lined this information up with some of the few records found in Salem of the Reverend Paris's slave girl, Tituba. So they I don't know if they had the name from one and put it to the other, or if they found the clan, found similarities, and then just named her that. I'm not sure how that worked. Anywho, one historian says that she's from Africa. To be fair, the Dahomey, which are where the Taino people are supposedly from, lineage-wise, the Dahomey spread out all over those islands over time. So there's that, and then you have another one saying that she was straight up a Red Indian, but I'm sticking to the Barbados version. It had the majority of stories to back it up. Unless you want to chime in, what do you think? Where do you think she's from? Let's hear some good, respectful feedback about this. Anywho, moving on to the Salem witch trials of Tituba. She resisted at first, but then confessed to conversing with Satan. She had a native husband called John Indian. She was arrested, but sold to a person for the price of her jailing debts, and then disappears from record after that. They said that her interrogation was a week-long torture between her and the Reverend. Just them. So who knows what horrors became of that. One of the main accusations that was from Tituba, as I said in the first Salem video I did, Tituba was told by Mary Sibley, a neighbor, to perform magical arts and help find out why the afflicted girls of the town were freaking out, who bewitched them. Again, they were trying to use witchcraft versus witchcraft on that. Again, for more specification, go back to Salem Part 1 of 2. Thank you. Mary Black was enslaved to the Putnam family. She was accused by just their son at first, but then sometime during her invasive interrogation, I found 2 stories behind this, by the way. Either she had a doll from the other enslaved girl named Candy, and they kept pins in it, they're sewing it, and then they leave it in there for safekeeping. Or she was tying back her clothes after the degradation she was through from two men prodding at her. She was tying her kerchief and pinning it back. Somehow pinning something on her person, according to the girls that I spoke of from the Salem Part 1 video, they started complaining and saying that Mary Black's spirit came from afar and struck the girls down, and she was arrested for this. But due to lack of physical evidence, again, and no one testified against her the day of her trial, Mary Black's jail debt is paid off by Nathaniel Putnam. He was the head of the household. And then she was taken home from there. Personally, I wonder if, like many of slave girl stories, the son of the head of the house was making moves, and the father realized what was going on, and without really reprimanding the son, he still helped her without, divulging it to society or whatever at the time. I mean, to sum it up of my opinion, I'm sorry, I'm carrying on, I digress, but God forbid this landowning rich white boy was told no for a first time in his life, and he takes it out on her by trying to sentence her to one of the worst things a woman could fucking go through back then. It's horrible that this was weaponized, Anywho, again, as I said, digress, moving on. July 4th, 1692. Candy, an Afro-Black, meaning that she came from a specified racial group of sub-Sahara Africa. She, too, taken from Barbados. That is, if the tracking and guessing of history is correct in all of this. Anywho, she was accused by the same squealing, viper little bitches that I spoke of. She did not deny her accusations, however, and was found with lots of colored cloths, dolls, and other hoodoo-esque objects. She took an interesting turn during her trial as well. She accused her mistress, Marguerite Hawkes, as her recruiting teacher. Candy also told the court how her mistress made her sign her name in the devil's book, whilst Marguerite spoke with Satan. Ooh, the secrets they must have shared. Candy was found not guilty, also surviving the hysteria. Phew. Again, a lot of records from people were missing. That's why Candy's is a little shorter. I'm sorry. And sorry if I pronounced anybody's names wrong and language, etc. As always, I end at this. You know how this works, darlings. Grab thy vice. Slanche to the unfortunate slaves during the terrible witch hysteria times of Salem, Massachusetts. I find it amazing that the rich men and women of power were fine with straight up killing rowdy females that stepped out of line for thinking freely, but they kept the valuable working slaves alive to save money. Because buying more in this new land with very little turnover from their crops and trades means early stage businesses. You don't start finding profit very quickly. It's a strange colonial form of fire the workers for free machine labor. Just saying. Slán.